One would think with the sheer cost of a lot of these new vehicles, the smarter the engineering, the better parts and pieces and technology buried in these vehicles, that they were built to last a long time. You'd be wrong. Unfortunately, there's still some car manufacturers out there that are building their vehicles so poorly, in fact, that they won't even make it 5 years. I'm going to share that list with you right now. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
The first vehicle manufacturer that I truly don't believe is built to last 5 years. I mean, some people are going to argue, oh yeah, I've got, 100,000 miles and my vehicle's 7 years old. Of course, there's always anomalies, but generally the vast majority of these vehicles are not built to last. There's clearly major issues with the brand. From what I've seen, a lot of vehicles built by GM, in this case we have GMC, Chevy, Buick, like you see over here, are all vehicles that are built to a lighter standard. A lot of these are not built to last. Sure, they give you all the great amenities, nice new updates, and every vehicle looks wonderful when they're new. You get the shiny black here, you get the one-touch access in there, roof racks on this little SLE right here, and then we cycle over here and you'll also notice vehicles that are built by Buick. In this case, we're dealing with an Envision all-wheel drive T, as you can see right here. They're essentially the same vehicle. They're all built under the same platform, many of the same engines. Sure, you get lots of these great details. Nice fold-away mirrors, of course, nice little accents that look like they came from Pep Boys. So a lot of the features are a little bit on the machismo aspect, but essentially a lot of these vehicles at General Motors just keeps building and rebuilding on the same platform, same drivetrains, same transmissions, and a lot of these vehicles are not built to last. Over here we have a vehicle like this, is almost the same as the Buick Encore. We have a little Chevy Trax, as you'll notice right here. Small vehicle. A lot of people love these. They were price point, they were affordable. People don't mind spending a little bit of money to get into a vehicle, just like this one here, to get you around. But unfortunately, most of these products were not built with high levels of durability. A lot of these GM products, especially the smaller Chevy products like the Trax and the all-wheel drive here, often have engines, in some cases turbocharged 3-cylinder engines, sometimes turbocharged 4-cylinder engines, but a lot of their smaller vehicles are not built with durability or longevity built in mind. A lot of these vehicles are not built to last. And now we're hearing the latest. Pickup trucks, 877,000 of the L87 V8 engines are getting recalled because of bad rod bearings. There's been many claims already of people with catastrophic engine failures. It just seems to be going around and around. Their 8-speed automatic transmissions are a source of recalls, as well as their 5.3-liter V8s and their 6.2, with the lifter issues breaking and problems with recalls trying to get engines replaced. In some cases, they're replacing banks, 1 head, 2 heads, but in many cases, a lot of the V8 engines aren't lasting. A lot of the automatic transmissions aren't lasting. Cadillacs are built with the lower quality, a lot of people recognizing. Plastic parts coming off, door handles ripping off. And a lot of the General Motors products just aren't built like they used to be. Many people say if you're going to buy a Chevy or a GM, you have to at least get the full-size vehicles because the small vehicles are built to lower grade, lower standard. Remember the old Chevy Cruze? Same thing, problematic engines there as well. Chevy and GM are no longer built what they were in the late 70s when they were built to go forever. The old 350 cubic inch, gone. And unfortunately now they've replaced it with all these newer generation engines that are sustaining issues with transmissions and gearboxes, differentials, electronic issues. And most of these modern day Chevy products, General Motors products, GMC, are all coming from a place similar to the big three. Ford, GM, as well as now Stellantis and Ram are building vehicles that are all competing with each other in a tightly wound space and all competing for the same market share and are looking for efficiencies, looking for ways to cut corners. We already talked about Chevys and gluing door hinges on because they can save a few dollars on bolts to mount the door to the chassis. There's lots of corner cutting, of course not painting in the inside of ashtrays, and just cutting corners in little ways just all adds up. Save $5 per vehicle because of a few little corner cutting opportunities. Next thing you know, they're saving millions and possibly billions over the course of 10 or 20 years of cutting those costs. No point in spending money or throwing a $100 saddle on a $10 horse, but sadly they're starting to cut corners, it seems, in places that matter the most. Reliability, longevity, engines and transmissions that are solid. They're clearly not these days, and General Motors, in my own personal opinion, are now building vehicles that are no longer made to last over 5 years. As opposed to a brand like Subaru, which actually has quite a stout reputation these days for longevity, although not quite as good as Toyota and Honda, we have brands like this one is one of the worst in terms of longevity. You won't find these on the road very long, and very small percentage of these modern day Volkswagens are built to last a long time. I mean, now they've virtually given up all of their quality engines. Some of the VR6s, some of the V6s have gone away. Now really all you have are electric vehicles and a lot of a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Even as a matter of fact, a large vehicle like this, here we have this beautiful little Cross Sport. Yeah, it looks wonderful. It has all of the great features. I love the lines and the humps. LED taillights are wonderful. They come from the family, the VAG group, of course, Porsche. Lamborghini Urus even has very similar styling design techniques as this. If you look at this as a very softened up hollow shell of what you'd consider even a Lamborghini Urus, if you can believe this. But unfortunately, the modern day Volkswagen Atlas now comes with a turbo 4 and has a turbocharged 2-liter engine that makes about 240, 250 horsepower. It feels surgy. I took one out for a drive and it surges on partial throttle. It feels underpowered, underwhelming, and quite honestly is working too hard for a vehicle of this size. Unfortunately, that goes for every vehicle. The Taos, which is one of the worst, most unreliable vehicle in the industry today. The Jetta's not doing well, and the Golfs are struggling with reliability too. Now the Golfs have a following, a cult following, so they're still selling those products, but even the ID4 has a relatively low range and isn't very popular. The brand as a whole, seriously, is not all that reliable, and I wouldn't anticipate any of them to last all that long. iSeeCars.com, Consumers Reports don't rank them very well either, and from my personal experience, recent Volkswagens in the last of 15, 20 years previous are just not built to what they used to be many years ago. Unfortunately, Volkswagen's a brand that you might want to steer away from if you're concerned about longevity. And another brand that I truly don't believe is built to last over 5 years, and if you see any that are older than 5 years, chances are they're never driven, and they're probably left in the garage to sit and rot. But that's largely, if you try to use these vehicles on a daily basis, guaranteed you're going to have huge expenses, huge repair bills, and in many cases unrepairable issues. I've heard of many cases with owners that buy these, they take them in and they just could never get a problem sorted out. The cost to repair some of these are absolutely astronomical, and they're fit for King and Queen of England. But ultimately we're talking about Range Rovers. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about a Range Rover Sport, you're talking about the Evoque, which is their smaller little SUVs. They are pretty, there's no doubt, but look, flip open handles that ice over. Of course, you also get the Velar like this, lots of problems and huge expenses associated with driving a Velar. They've also got these iced over handles, automatic transmissions that lock up and you can't even get them on the tow truck. Ultimately, electronic gremlins, infotainment issues, and the infotainment systems have been nothing short of problematic. SIM cards, glitches. I've even had that in one of my recent Jaguar products, the same family of vehicles. We also have the full-size Range Rovers, huge expenses with air ride suspension issues back here where the air ride suspension fails. And if you ever wondered how an electrical system can leak oil, for some reason, Range Rover has figured out how to do that. See, unfortunately, Range Rovers have been around a long time, but they haven't carried on the reputation of durability. While they do have sort of that inherent off-road prowess, the fact remains is they're clearly not built to last a long time. They're always low on the list of reliability ratings, and they never hold up very, very well. I mean, they look wonderful. They absolutely have some beautiful, luxurious appointments. They're wonderful to ride in, but they are truly one of those vehicles you take out once a month for that nice little drive in the country. Because to use these on a daily basis, to pound the miles on them, and to use them every single day, guaranteed they're not going to last. Got lucky if you get these 4 or 5 years. And if you do happen to hold on to them for that long, it's largely because you're a glutton for punishment, you have an extremely large bank account, or you just don't use the vehicle, because a few miles on these vehicles generally just wear them out. They're not built to last, they're wonderful to look at and drive, but only for 2 or 3 years. Keep them under a warranty period. Here's another brand that won't make it 20 years, clearly not built to last a long time. We're talking about Kia, and as well, it's got a sister brand, Hyundai. Hyundai right here is another manufacturer. Beautiful, looks great. This is a Hyundai Tucson Hybrid Ultimate. Look, you've got great lights, beautiful LEDs, of course, wonderful technology, beautiful laser cut rims. I love the design of all of these vehicles. They have these nice creases, beautiful design. Of course, they have this nice finishing detailing back here. And I will say, even looking at the rear finishing of these vehicles here, you do notice that the style and the technology that goes into some of these modern Hyundai and Kias are better than a lot of their competition. I mean, even look at the finishing. The detailing is absolutely wonderful. So why are these vehicles not great? They won't last 20 years. You won't see these on the road like you often see with Toyotas and Hondas. And when I refer to iSeeCars.com, brands like this are built to last. Only about 3.1 to 3.4% of these are on the road after 250,000 miles. Compare that to about 17% of the top brand being Toyota. There's a very low likeliness of these being around after 20 years, and it's a lot to do with just the overall build quality. A lot of people talk about blown engines, rod knocks, oil leaks, oil consumption, bad gearboxes, you name it. Theta 2 engine eating rod bearings and taking out an engine, people waiting to get their vehicles replaced or their engines replaced. It's just not a great vehicle in my own personal experience. I even know somebody personally who owns one of these vehicles or owned one. It developed a rod knock about 100,000 miles in, and all of a sudden they had to throw the engine out. They quoted her for new engine, but it simply wasn't worth, the math wasn't there to add up that she needed to buy another vehicle like that. She ended up deciding, trading it off, selling it for scrap, and bought it something entirely different. These vehicles aren't made to last very long. At 20 years later, this vehicle, you'll never see it. This will be long in a scrapyard. It'll be remanufactured, and it'll probably go into a new Nissan product or something, because all the metal and plastic in this vehicle will be long gone. This vehicle won't be on the road in 20 years, and that's a surefire bet. Hyundais, Kias, some of the worst vehicles for longevity, definitely ones that I wouldn't be buying if I cared at all about keeping them around for a while. And what's going on with General Motors? You're definitely going to want to check out that video, because there's something new and fresh off the press. Yes, that's right. They've screwed almost 1 million customers buying some of the GMC and Chevy vehicles. You're going to want to find out why and what's going on. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.